Welcome back. It's time to finish out this soft spine junk journal, art journal. First thing we're going to do is add in our end pages to the inside of our front and back cover. And I, being the old scrapbooker that I am, have a lot of scrapbook paper left, and I am going to cut these down, and I'm going to make a pocket for the front and back cover with this little polka dot paper, and then I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew the pocket on and then glue this in. So here is, it's very simple. We are going to measure, and I believe I told you earlier in the video that you could either leave this exposed or cover it. I'm choosing to cover it, so I'm going to come all the way here. I'm just going to mark this real simply. Mark there. And I'm not even going to use a cutter, a trimmer. I am simply going to use this ruler. I'm going to go ahead and measure this because I don't trust my eyeballing skills. I want to make sure this is straight. So here we go. Line those up. And this is a really simple way that you can cut your paper straight, is to use a ruler, a metal ruler. So now that is straight. And then we're going to measure this side. And you can see I'm going right over this end paper that's already on there. And, you know, if I'm going to cheat this anyway, I'm going to cheat it just a hair larger so it covers it up. So there is going to be the inside of that cover. And then I'm going to make one for this side. Now, let me tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to mark this front. Now from here, I could go ahead and just glue this in, and that would make it real easy. However, I want to add a little pocket on the front and the back cover, just so I can keep stickers or ephemera or mementos or you know, bits of paper, whatever, for this journal. Sometimes you don't have time maybe to add to your journal, so it's just a little spot, a little tuck spot to keep things in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little short cover on the front, and then I'm going to make a side, then I'm going to make a side, little side tuck on this side. You'll see what I mean. So I'm going to make this probably about 3-4 inches, about right here. So there's going to be my front pocket. And then we're going to make this little back pocket. And I am going to have to trim this off right here. Let's do it this way. This little grid mat I've had for years, well, since my scrapbooking days, and it's really handy. And I'm going to make that probably a couple of inches. I don't like to make my pockets too deep because things get lost in there if you have something small. So I'm going to make this about, I'm going to make it about 2 inches. Let's make it about 2.5 inches. How about that? Okay. So we'll make this back pocket, a little slip pocket this way, sideways. And then this is going to be a pocket. I will be back. I'm going to sew these on. You can also just glue them on or staple them or however, but I'm going to use a sewing machine and sew these on, and then we'll come back and glue them in. All right, that is finished. And I'll just tell you, I used a little washi tape to hold that on while I sewed the little pocket on there. That works very well. And again, let me stress that you do not have to have a sewing machine to do this, nor do you have to add pockets. You can keep these plain. In fact, the journal is plain. So you can just leave this blank. You don't have to put pockets on here. I just kind of enjoy having those little tuck spots where I can keep things as I go. So our next item of business is to glue, and use the glue that you have on hand. I am going to use this tacky glue. I've seen people use a variety of glue. I've seen people use the Scotch glue stick. Oops. And I've seen other Uhu glue, other types of glue stick, or you could use Fabri-Tac. I'm going to use this. We're going to see how this is going to go. I will say this: I would put glue on your cover. I mean, on your paper and on your cover, just to make sure you get that good stick. And you definitely want to go right up to the edges, because you don't want this to come off. You want this to be a really good permanent adhesive. So I'm going to speed this up while I put this glue on. Make sure you get this turned the right way. We're doing our back cover first. That's how I roll. Get that lined up right over that other end page and get it stuck really well. And I've got glue on my hands, so I'm going to grab a wipe my hands off. Then, if you'll remember, if you bought the bookbinding kit and you have a bone folder, this is a really good place. I'm going to wipe that off because I got a little glue on there. This is a really good place to use that tool and really get that stuck. You want to make sure, and you can see how your glue is coming out, and that's why it's good to have a little wet wipe or something to do a little cleanup with, because your glue is going to come out a little bit. But that's good, because that means it's to the edge. We want to make sure that it is stuck. All right, so there's the back. I'm going to go ahead and spare you from watching me glue the front cover on. And now we have our inside front and back covers glued on. And you can see I got a little carried away with my glue right here when I was wiping. I sort of tore that paper, but I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Once this dries, it will be fine. But I have some nice little pockets now that I can use with my journal. Now comes the fun part where we get to put our pages into our book. Now, what I'm going to say about this is it takes a little time to kind of figure out, number one, how many signatures you want in your book, in your journal, and two, how many pages that you want in each signature. And this is all going to depend on your paper, the size of your spine, and just what you want in your journal. This is a totally personal choice. I have, let me just show you. I have a stack of paper here. These are my jelly prints. And if you don't know what a jelly press is, I think that's what it's called, a jelly press. It is, if you have any desire to screen print or learn kind of the printing process, it is awesome. And it is, I can get lost for hours doing this. So I have a lot of jelly prints here. And in fact, I am going to use these papers right here for my signature covers. And let me tell you what these papers are. This is just copy paper. This is just copy paper that I had that had crazy prints. You know, sometimes when you print something and your computer goes crazy and it just prints gibberish. That's what these pages were. And I had them in my stash just as, just to use for scratch paper or whatever. So I was using these to the side of my jelly press to roll out my brayer, my little roller, my brayer. And lo and behold, I may like these better than I like the actual prints. They have almost a, they've given this paper almost a leathery feel. It's hard to describe, but I had several, and so this is what I've decided that I'm going to use for my signature covers in this journal. I think they will look super cool. I'm going to start kind of going through these and pulling out pages that I want to use in my book. Now, before I even start that, I need to kind of decide the size. And to decide the size, we're going to measure. And I showed you this earlier on. So we're going to have this, I'm going to say about 5 1/4, which is 10 1/2. So 10 1/2 by, you want it to be about the size of your pages that you just cut, maybe a little bit smaller, so a little less than 8 1/4. So I'm going to pull some paper and then I will show you how we'll put it together. Okay, in the midst of all of my page pulling, I just wanted to show you, this is fun to me. This is a book that I bought at a thrift store, antique store somewhere. And it is beautifully colored pages. It's got these nursery rhymes, nursery songs, and it's lovely. I also have these ledgers. This ledger actually is blank, which is fantastic. But this ledger I bought on eBay. And the reason that I bought it is look at this old handwriting. How awesome is that? 1897. 1897. I mean, this is over 100 years old. And I just think there is something so interesting about incorporating these types of pages into a journal. A lot of times I pick the pages based on how the paper feels. This is out of an old sewing book. And then I'm also using some notebook paper. And these are composition notebooks that I took apart. I took the binding out so I could keep them in one piece, so I could then insert them back into another journal. And then I'm also using, I'm going to incorporate just some regular paper that will really take watercolor and everything very well. In an effort to keep this video from being super long, I have gone ahead and put together 2 of the signatures that are going to go in this book. And then what I thought I would do is show you this last one. This process, it just takes some time, honestly, and some trial and error. And so I just didn't want to have this rolling the entire time while I was going through these. But I have kind of gotten them organized. So I'll show you what I'm doing. First of all, I told you about the signature covers that I'm using, and I think that was a great decision. I love these. I love the way they feel. And they just, the colors, it just all ties together. So what I decided to do is, they've got about 10 pages, I think, in here. So I started with the signature cover. I've used some sheet music. And this one, and this is something to keep in mind, when you're cutting these down to fit, if they are long, you can have a fold out. You can either keep that loose, or you can glue it or sew it and make a pocket with these pages. I've used some notebook paper. This is a book page. This is just some good multimedia art paper, and you can see I left that as a fold out. This is another book page from that fairy tale book I showed you. Another piece of, this is graph paper. This is craft paper, and I just painted it with some extra paint, and so I decided to use that. This is a piece of the ledger paper that I showed you earlier. And then for my center of my signature, I decided to use these. This is from a class that I took, or that I'm in. Actually, it's a monthly membership that I do, Amanda Evanston. And these were some rainbows that she did, some little mandalas. And I've had those, and so I decided those would be cute in the center. So that's what I used in this one. This is very similar. Let's make this next one. Let's see, what do we want on the outside? I think we're going to use this. We're going to use this warmer colors on the outside. Now, this is the part where you're probably going to want to do some trimming and measuring as you go. I have my craft knife, I have my ruler, and I have my craft mat. And so, again, you can see that I trimmed this down a little bit to fit inside the book. So I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to use this one to go by. That's one thing about this. Whenever you get one done, you can kind of use the other one to measure. And again, this does not have to be precise. Just depends on what you're going for. I've seen a lot of these art journals that are made with pages sticking out everywhere. I like a little uniformity, but I'll be honest, whenever I'm in my art journal working, sometimes I leave things hanging out. That doesn't bother me too bad. So it's just a personal choice. Okay, so there is, and I think this time, let's put some more, some more music. Let's put another piece of this in. Oh, and you can see I've used that, which is okay by me. Pagan love song, that's not really my jam. So I'm gonna trim this down. I'm just gonna cut it where it came out of the book the first time. And I'm gonna kind of use this to measure it. This is not a precise art, but I do like to get those sharp edges. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold this. I'm gonna fold it this way, I think. So I'm just gonna make a little flip, and probably what I'll do is come back in and sew that and make that a little pocket inside. So that's gonna go in there. I'm gonna trim that up. And we know that it's 8 1/4. So we're gonna put that there. And see, I've got these measurements on my craft mat, so that's easy to measure. So there, I have 1 page in. And I think next, let's put in a piece of this grid paper. A very easy way to measure this is just put this in, mark it. I don't know where I had a pencil here. Whoops. Mark this. Oh, I don't think I had that down. I didn't. Measure this. And again, we're just gonna put that here, tear it, and tear it. So there's that page. So you can see I like to alternate a little bit. I like some places where I can write and journal, and then I like some places that I can do some art. It just depends on what your purpose is for your book, how you want to use it. I think the next thing we're going to put in is let's use one out of this journal. This one I had taken out for something else and didn't use it. We're gonna fold it. Well, let's do it this way this time. I may have left that little, I think I left this one too long. Let's trim that up just a little bit because that will bug me. And again, there is no science to this. It is all based on what your personal choice is. Okay. Let's do something here. All right. Let's use our paper if we want to paint, and we're gonna try to make this fit. And I don't know if you can see, I'm actually trying to measure this as I fold it because I know I don't want it any more than 5 1/4, and that's probably actually going to be a little bit too big. We may have to trim that. Yeah, we're gonna fold this in. And then we know the height cannot be any more than 8 1/4. So now that fits. There we go. Okay. So I think next, let's use a book page. We don't want music. Oh, let's use this. I found this earlier. This is a book page that I took out of a book from the signature, and I jelly printed on it. So let's use that there, and we will have to trim that up. But I like that. I really enjoy using pages within my journal that already have some color pattern artwork on it, because honestly it's less intimidating. It's much less intimidating to open a book. If you have a book of all blank pages, to me it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It makes it hard for me to go in and add to. When there's something already there, it's just easier. For me anyway. Now we're gonna add some notebook paper. And again, you see there is no hard science to this. Once you start, you can kind of get a feel for the measurements that you need. This is going to go here. Okay, so let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we'll put 2 more in. We know for sure that we're going to use this in the middle. So let's go ahead and fold that. And one thing you can do is use your ruler to press these down so you can see if you need to trim. This, I really hate to trim this, but it's not too bad. Oh, not a problem. So that's going to be our center. But I think I want one more page in there. Coffee dyed this page and then watercolored on it. So it's really interesting. 8 1/4. Okay. Right. Yay. So this is what this one's going to look like. I love it. I love having this in the middle. And when we go this way, okay, and then we've got a couple of little pockets in. Totally forgot about this one. I'm gonna come back when we are ready to measure and put our holes and sew them in. I'm gonna take these all and use my bone folder when I find it, and I'm gonna make sure the creases are all good and that I don't need to do any sewing or extra trimming. First of all, there are many different ways to sew in your signatures to your spine. I am today going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. It's pretty much the simplest one. I would say a 5-hole pamphlet stitch is more stable, more sturdy. It gives you more holes. So I hope this makes sense when I say this. If inside your signatures you have really small, narrow pages, you probably are going to want to use a 5-hole. But I'm good, I think, with 3 holes, because you want each one of your threads to catch your pages, not just once, or it's going to be loose. This is the way that I learned how to sew in my signatures. Now, so you just need a plain piece of paper, and you want to measure your paper the height of your spine, which this just so happens to be the exact right height. And then you're going to want to cut this to the width of your spine. So I'm going to just make a little notch there. And then I'm going to cut this. And you want to try to get this as precise as you possibly can, because you want everything to line up with your signatures. So let's see if that's accurate. Okay, so see how that fits down in there? Okay, so here's the secret. What we're gonna do is we've got 3 signatures, so we need 3 rows of 3 holes. So in order to find the middle, we're gonna fold this in half long ways. And again, you want to get this as accurate and precise as possible. And you've got a good crease. Then you're going to want to take these edges, the long edges, and fold them in where it meets the middle there. And this is going to take a little bit of finesse, but you're going to fold those in, make sure they're straight, and then the same on this one. So that is going to represent the 3 signatures into your spine. Okay, next you're going to take this is to find where the holes are going to be. You're going to take this and fold it in half. That will be your middle hole where those lines intersect. Then this, okay, so this next one, okay, so imagine you've got holes there. You're going to want to come down probably, I'm going to say about an inch. I'm going to say about an inch. So, and again, this does not have to be as precise. Next, we're going to take a pen or a pencil, and we're going to mark that where those have intersected. Though that's how we're going to know where to put our marks. And we're also going to mark this as our top. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to punch our holes into our spine here. So we're going to line that up, and we're going to take a clip and clip that in so it doesn't move around on us. on the top and the bottom. And we're going to take our handy dandy little awl, our little awl tool, and we're going to punch a hole. Now, let me show you what I'm going to use. I have this large dictionary that I bought at a thrift store, and this is the perfect book cradle or punching book. The pages are nice and soft, so I can just punch right through. So we're going to, ooh, I did not line those up very well, I can see now. I didn't have my glasses on. So I'm gonna punch that through, and you're gonna wanna push it through a little bit because this awl is tapered, and so you want to make that hole a little bit larger so you can get your needle and thread through. There was no rhyme or reason for me to start in the middle, but I did. So I did not do a good job marking those holes. I can see now that I'm standing above it. There we have the holes in our spine. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the holes, we're going to use our template, and we're going to put holes in our signatures. Now, this is where this little book comes in handy as a book cradle. I kind of like to get it in the middle here. And let me tell you, one thing that you're going to want to do is make sure your pages are really tight through that crease and then clip them. This is my first one, so I'm going to use this template for that first row. And you're going to notice that this little, it's longer than these pages because if you'll remember, these pages are smaller. They go inside the book, probably about a 1/4 inch. So you need to account for that when you're punching your holes. And I'm going to say you're going to want to cheat that just a little bit to kind of make sure it's even. You can kind of eyeball it and see. You've got a little bit sticking up, a little bit sticking up. And then you're going to punch straight down because you want to stay right on that. But using the inside of a book like this helps you push that straight down, and it keeps it evenly lined up. So now I've got my holes in that signature, and we can sew that in. I'm going to go ahead and punch these others. This is our middle, so we're going to put the middle template, the middle holes, the middle row. And again, I'm going to cheat that a little bit up and down. I'm going to hold it. And again, we've got our holes there. And if you want to, you can then come out and push that through a little bit further to make those a little bit larger. It just makes it somewhat easier. Okay, so this is what I was talking about with having the 5-hole pamphlet stitch. If you wanted to, if you've got these narrow pages, I moved this up so it would catch in both of these holes. I'm afraid if I had moved it down, it would have only caught the middle, and I wanted to be sure that it stayed in well. So there's signature 2, and here is number 3. So you can see this template is really handy. You just have to get that right down in there. And again, you can hold it or you can clip it. Next step, sewing it in. This time we're going to use our bookbinding thread that has the beeswax on it. I only have this one color. There are several kits that have different colors of this. I should have probably ordered some other colors because that would have been more fun in this one. I have also used this craft thread, but I'm going to use the bookbinding thread today. And I'm going to tell you that you need about, I don't know, 2 or 3 times the length of your spine. We're going to use one of our needles here. Here we go. All right, we're going to start with our first signature here, and let's see how well I did. So what you're going to do is you're going to open it up to your middle, to the middle of your signature here, and you're going to go down through your middle hole. You're going to pull it out, and I'm going to tell you that you're going to want to clip these. And I don't think I mentioned that. When you put these signatures together, you need to make sure that you've got them paper clipped and clipped. What I need is some of those large paper clips. I've noticed that's what a lot of people use because it holds the pages better, especially when you have different size pages. But I use what I have. So you're going to pull that down. You're going to leave a tail there. You're going to leave that tail. You're going to come, we're doing our first signature, so you're going to come there into that middle hole, and you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to go up through the top hole, and if you're really good, you can line these up. Where they go right in. I'm not that good. So, and you're going to pull that down, and you are going to pull that tight and hold that string, hold that tail and pull that tight. Okay, so you've come back, you're in the top, and then you're going to skip over that hole, and you're going to come down here to your bottom hole. You're going to go through the spine. You're going to pull that tight. And then you're simply going to go back through. You're going to come back up through the hole where you started. Now this is important. You're going to want this middle piece to be on either side of your tails. So we're going to pull that back up and see how that long piece comes down through. That's what you want. And then you're going to want to pull this tight because I can tell that's loose. So pull that tight, and then you're going to do a square knot. Done with you. Right over left. And left over right. And that, my friends, is your first signature in your book. Isn't that exciting? And then you can leave these long. Some people choose to put little beads and stuff on them. I just kind of cut them off. And you can put a little glue on there if you want to. But that is our first signature. Yay. And we have our second signature. Here we go again. We're going to do 1, 2, and about a half. And we're going to do the same thing. Now we have our finished journal. How exciting is that? We have our beautiful covers, our gorgeous signatures. I am absolutely loving the way these turned out. And see, you can see your exposed little spine back there. I even sewed a little pocket on that one. This signature. And then we have our back little pocket. And honestly, they turned out pretty even. I'm quite happy with it. Now what you can do is go back through and kind of use your bone folder to fully crease those. It's not necessary, but it is ready for you to use or for you to gift to somebody. And this soft spine allows you to fold that over. You can still actually, if you want to sew more into your pages, you can actually fold that onto itself with that soft spine. It makes it much more flexible and pliable. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you try one, let me know. I would love to see your photos, and I will try to come up with some other tutorials for the channel. Thank you.